Hey Charlie, what's up? How's your week? Has your week been going well? Well, that's good. At least it'll being busy keeps the week moving. I don't like slow weeks, boring weeks. I'd rather be busy than slow and boring. Hopefully, a couple other people join before we start tonight's discussion. Also, one thing I want to say, I do appreciate you joining the streams and being engaging in streams. I'm gonna thank some other people when I see them. Um, it does mean a lot. I was telling Case the other day that it's cool to start having my own community of people, you know. So I just want to say thank you for that. And the streams and the channel have really been helping me through a lot of things lately. So I just want to tell you I appreciate it. Yeah, please upload your covers. I'd love to hear them. By the way, if you're taking any song requests, let me know. Oh yeah, you're welcome. I'm doing this for enjoyment, and all of this extra bonus stuff has all been something I never thought would happen. So as long as you guys keep enjoying it, at least a few of you who join, I'm happy to keep doing it. Let's see. I know Case said he'd be joining tonight. I don't know exactly when, but one thing I do want to discuss tonight that he brought the idea up is to discuss each album individually. So I'm starting with obviously the first one, both Australian, European, and international, even though the European and international really aren't that much different other than the album covers. Um, but we'll go through the Australian one, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to rank the songs from, I can't say dislike because I never dislike a song, but probably less preferred to preferred on the international one when we get to it. And I'm a little early tonight too, because I just got home, ate dinner, things like that, so I kind of was ready to start. Sorry for any background noise. I just had to get something ready for tomorrow real quick. But anyway, while we're waiting, if you have anything you wanna to ask me tonight, Charlie, go ahead. We'll see if Tyler or Case or anybody else joins tonight. Or if you want to maybe get your ranking list set, maybe. If not, we can just discuss what my list is. Then once, obviously, we get our normal people in here. What's up, Tyler? How are you doing? How's your week? Week of work good? Cool. It's good to hear. Now, you off for a couple days for Christmas, or since my whole job situation has changed over the last 6 months, I mean, obviously I'm off Christmas, but I'll probably be working the day before and day after till the 30th. Nice. You get a whole week off then or so, or a little bit more than a week. So that's cool. You get about a week and a half-ish. That's also nice when you get a paid week off. That helps. That helps the wallets, especially when you don't have to really work for it. It's a nice thing to have whenever you work for a company that will pay you for the week off for Christmas. So that's really nice. Also, Tyler, I'm sure I told you before. Well, with me, it's going. I just told Charlie, doing these streams and talking to you guys have really helped me with the last several months. There's a lot of things that have been going on, job related, mentally, life per se, but I'm doing good overall. Just a lot of things that I'm working through, I guess I should say. And also tonight we're going to discuss, thanks to Case, who brought the idea up, is to cover basically all the albums, and we'll just discuss, like the Australian and the European, which the European and international really isn't much difference other than the album cover. Um, so we'll go over. Hopefully, if Case shows up, we'll get into it. I have my song ranking on the international version on what I least prefer the most. I don't hate any of the songs, but there are some that I'd rather listen to more than others. And we'll get into that then. Also, one other thing you guys can chime into. Um, isn't it a unique album cover for the European one on the far right? It's one of my favorites. I think one of my favorite versions of the cover. I have one physical album itself. I've always wanted it. It's I don't know where they came up with that idea to design that one, but I like it. I think it's just cool overall. Which one do you prefer? Which one do you guys prefer, I should say? Like, if you had to pick one of the three covers, which one would you choose? If you had to have one. Charlie, I'm pretty sure it does. I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't think there was a difference. Maybe the track order was different, but I don't think any different songs were on either one. I, but I can't say for sure. I'd have to do some research on it, but I don't think there was any difference, any real big differences. That's true. The international one is classic. The Australian one was the first one, so that one's kind of hits different as well because it is the original. But I don't know. The European always stood out to me just by the colors and the design. I have all three of them actually, the physical copies of the album. I have all three right, pretty much hanging up beside each other. I don't know. That'd be a tough question, really. I mean, I think I'd either go Australian or European. I think I like more, but like you guys said, international is a classic one because it's one that most people know. It was ranked in the middle, I think. Let me see. Do I have the list? So High Voltage, the international version, was ranked seventh out of the 18 covers that I preferred or liked the most. Yeah, it wasn't my favorite, but it was pretty high. Tyler, yes, I did. Me, my brother, my dad, and one of my best friends, we're all going to Landover. Um, Pretty good view. Um, Compared to some people's prices, I would say mine was probably. I mean, it wasn't as bad as I thought the prices would be for the seats that I have. So yes, I am excited to go. Um, I still don't know what to think. I it's a dream come true, really. And when May 12th comes around in Landover, I'm gonna be absolutely don't just. I'm definitely gonna tear up. I know that for sure. But I can't wait to hear some of my favorites with my own ears. That's gonna be the best thing. Yeah, because the only Canadian one would be Vancouver, which is the whole way on the other side of the country. Um, or Tyler would have to go somewhere like Detroit, Pittsburgh, because they have nothing in New England or other than Foxborough. I guess you could, Gillette Stadium in Foxborough could happen, but that's true. You did see him in Toronto in '09. I would have loved to see him on the Black Ice tour, but I was too young at the time, and I wasn't as a super fan as I am now because I was still in the process of getting into him. So I wouldn't have made a difference. I don't blame you. I mean, with some of the ticket prices, I don't blame you, but I would say I was perfectly fine paying what I did to see him for the first time. It wasn't anything crazy. I mean, it could have been. I mean, in some people's eyes, it might have been crazy, but it fit into my budget to be able to go. I was gonna make it happen one way or the other because this could be the only time I get to see him. That song, Tyler, is the one of the ones I'm most forward to listening with my own ears. Rock and Roll Train is probably it's definitely my top 10 favorites of all time. Stiff Upper Lip's another one that is probably the one that I want to hear the most. Yeah, times have changed. Ticket prices for sure. They're drastically higher. And that's understandable. If they had something too far away, I probably wouldn't have gone either. Because it's hard to travel when you have a busy schedule. Charlie, you're right. Tickets should be more cheaper, but I don't think it's necessarily them who want the money. I would say a lot of it is from the venue who has to make money because they got to pay the venue to play there. I would imagine so their tickets have to be up for the venue to make their share of it. I'm sure. I don't think they really care much about the money at this point. They just want to play in front of the fans and do what they love to do. They've made enough money in their lifetime. I don't think that's the main focus. Tyler, I don't think you did because you missed that stream that I went through my list of favorites. Um, I'll tell you my favorite if you haven't rewatched that stream. My favorite was Stiff Upper Lip due to the bronze statue and the city lights. I like the building lights behind it. It kind of incorporated like the Safe New York City type thing. Case, what's up, man? You're just in time. We're gonna be talking about the High Voltage album tonight. Let There Be Rock International. You like the fretboard with the whoever's I'm guessing it was Angus's fingers on it? Do I think Angus is a moneymaker? I don't know, Charlie. That's a good question. I really don't know. Also, Tyler, back on the album covers, Case and Charlie both um, gave it to me whenever I said Rocker Bus was my third or fourth favorite one because of the fact that it had that 3D cover on it, and they still won't let that go. Um, but I had to tell you that because they sure were laughing at me at that point because they had it pretty low. But I like that the 3D kind of thing because it was the only one that they've ever had like that, so that's why I had it up on the higher on the list. Oh, international. Oh, duh. Case, I'm like already forgetting things. Yeah, that's right. Let There Be Rock, because it was a picture of the Curacao Ballroom in March of '77. The Australian one, yeah. See, Case just shows up and he just starts correcting me like he owns the stream or something. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm sure it is Rocker Barf. Anyway, since Case is in, we got some of the main people in here now. Let's talk about the High Voltage album in general. Am I the only one in here that likes the Rocker Bus album cover? Because clearly you three don't, and I do. I mean, I can just end the stream now and just get off if everyone else thinks that I'm crazy for liking the Rocker Bust album cover. Nah, I'm just joking. Thanks, Charlie. Um, Case, I actually prefer that cover, honestly, the European one. But overall, the Australian one and the other two, they had a pretty good. I liked the track listing. Um, Going to the Australian one, I think my favorite song off the Australian one is probably Soul Stripper. You know, sometimes I forget that dog's even on the cover because you're so focused on the electrical box that sometimes you forget that the dog's there. I forgot about Stick Around is also on that, which is kind of interesting. It's one that I don't think many people give a lot of credit to. But I would still say my favorite off the Australian is probably Soul Stripper. Now, granted, they did have a couple like She's Got Balls and Little Lover that I'll talk about in the international version because it's most popular on that one. But I'll rank my songs on that album then when we get to that version. But like I said, I think my favorite is Soul Stripper. It is a really good one. I think I mean Baby Please Don't Go is good. I mean they're all good. Um, You Ain't Got a Hold on Me was good. Show Business is a pretty catchy one. Love Song was a different feel. I don't know. I think that's one. I think I heard Angus said that Love Song was his. He regrets making that song. I think maybe Case can correct me if I'm wrong. Um, but I think Angus said something about Love Song that he hated. He wished he wouldn't have made that song. Case, I agree with you. I mean, I don't mind Love Song. It's just different. You know, it's not one that most people talk about. One thing I wish they would have done is, I guess in some shows in '77, they opened up with the intro of Love Song. It would have been cool to hear that song actually played fully. But I know a lot of people don't like it, but I don't mind it. I wouldn't say, see, Case is not a fan. Um, it's just one of them songs where I don't think I'm gonna go out of my way. I think to play it, but if it comes on, I'm not gonna change it. You know, I'm not gonna skip it because it's still good. But it's not. I don't think it's one that I'm going to pick up the CD or on my iPod or anything and play it like specifically just to hear it. Now there is a song that I will do that to. We'll get to that then. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I wish they would have played it live, but it was only the intro. I wish I would have played the full thing. It would have been interesting to hear. And also, the way I ranked um, my international song in my ranking list, I based it off of how much I would seek that song out to be played, two, um, how the song sounded live, and how much I prefer it to be played live, and three, just overall the song itself. So those are my three things that I took into my personal consideration in ranking the songs on the international album. So if you want to, we can start getting into my list if you guys want, unless you have any more to say about the Australian version or anything like that. My favorite live version of High Voltage, like as in year, or Tyler, is like specific year or like a specific show, like a really in-depth specific show. Because I don't think I could tell you a specific show, but I could tell you probably some years that I like hearing it. Actually, I'll give you my top 3 years of hearing it. How about that? I'll give you the top 3 tours that I prefer to hear High Voltage on. A show. Oh, okay. That's tough. That is tough to actually pick a specific show because there's a lot of them that I like the same. "2015 Case." I hope you don't mean that you like Axl's version of High Voltage. I really hope you meant 2015. Um, okay, so for me, I would say it's a tie. I think it's a tie. For me, it's a tie between Houston 2016, because I like the whole breakdown during that show specifically. Um, and probably, I mean, the Razor's Edge High Voltage versions, like the tour, was good. Black Ice was good. I, I kind of really like the Highway to Melbourne in 1988 High Voltage. I like the Blow Up Your Video versions of High Voltage a lot. Yeah, Angus, what's your question? Oh, you meant for him, not me. I just, I just don't. I mean, this is probably going to ruffle some feathers, but I honestly prefer to hear Brian sing High Voltage than Bond, but I'm probably gonna get yelled at by some of you, but I just do. That's what I thought. I love his 1988 versions. Charlie, that's the reason why I like High Voltage with Brian better, because of his crowd interactions. That is the big reason why I loved it with Brian more, because he gets the crowd involved, which I love. And I think you can tell in his voice he loves singing that song. Even the Power Up version I prefer a lot too. Yeah, Angus definitely wants a mistress for Christmas. 100%. He wants the woman in red at the bottom of his bed. See, Tyler's so good at guessing things because it was almost probably a given that's what it was going to be said. Don't we all? That I mean, realistically, don't we all want one? Um, Here's a question: how did you all like the Little Lover live in that the radio session or whatever it was in '76? How do you think that song fared live? In my opinion, it almost sounded identical to the album, which was almost crazy to hear that there's very little difference in how it sounded. I think it was cool. I liked it. I prefer to listen to the live version actually. But I don't think it's one of those songs that I'm going to go out of my way to listen to on the album. I guess I should say. I don't dislike it, and I don't, I think it's great. But I just thought I'd ask. Angus, I did. Yes, I did. I did get tickets for Landover. I do too, Tyler. I prefer the live version than the album version as well. But there's more songs in the album I think I go out of my way to to listen to. So we can get into that list. Um, Actually, we can get into it and we can discuss. But my number nine, since there's 9 tracks on the international version, the least song on the album that I prefer to listen to is the Jack. Um, it's just been played so many times through history. To me, it gets stale. It gets old, and there's a handful more songs that would rather listen to on the album rather than the Jack. I think my list is going to make a lot of you, at least Charlie and Case, probably frustrated. Now, like I said, it's not a bad song. I don't hate it. It just has been played so much that it just is old, I guess. Cool, Angus. That's awesome that you're going to see them. The others 8 other songs I think I'd prefer to hear than the Jack. But we'll get to that. Yeah, I would have preferred them to play Bad Boy over the Jack. I think even Jailbreak I think would have been better than the Jack. I mean, Tyler, there is a lot of good songs, but to narrow it from 9 to 1 was hard. But at number 9, like I said, I have the Jack. Case, we're finally on the same page of something for once. I don't know why they stopped playing the Jack um, after Black Ice, but I'm not sad about it. I actually prefer to hear High Voltage than the Jack. I know I spoke too soon because the rest of the list were probably going to be different. I mean, it's not bad. Um, it's just like I said, the biggest thing for me is that it's just overplayed. It was overplayed from 75 to 2010 slash one time in 15. So number 8 we talked about is Little Lover. It's not like I don't hate the song. I just don't prefer the slower songs, I guess, over some of the other ones. Like it's not, I don't know. Like I'm not same with Love Song. Like Little Lover, Love Song. A lot of the slow ones, I like them. I'm just not gonna choose them over some of the other ones. Tyler and I are on our list is about the same at this point. I'm sure it's not gonna stay that way. So my number 7 is TNT. Yes, yell at me, scream at me, do whatever you need to. But the same, I mean, the same reason with the Jack. It's played all the time. It's a better. I think I prefer to listen to TNT over the Jack, obviously due to the list. Um, it's not bad. It's a classic. It's iconic. But that's kind of why a lot of the big songs for me are towards the bottom because of the radio play and the fact that they're played all the time. Tyler, I listened that song came up on my shuffle today, and I'll get to that song later in the list. Um, I have probably a lot higher liking to that song compared to probably most of you, but we'll get to that version. We'll get to that song later. 80 to 81 versions of TNT are insane. I haven't listened to any early 80s stuff in a while. I might have to go back and listen to it. I do, however, speaking of TNT, I prefer to hear that song right before For Those About to Rock than I do Highway to Hell. I don't even want to say my number 6 because you all might leave the stream for this. Um, my number 6 is a long way to the top. Um, well, yes, you guys are all going to scream at me, but it's a good song. It's really good, but it's a long way to the top. Just isn't the best in my opinion on the album, in my own opinion. Um, it's too radio play. You know, it's too what's the word? In case you're, it's called an opinion. I can have my opinion. It's just too famous for me. I and as the longer you guys know me, the more and more you're gonna know that the famous songs are my least favorite. Or should I say, the most radio played, the most mainstream, the most, you know, loved, are the ones that I don't like the most. Like, I don't hate it by any means. The bagpipes was a great incorporation in the song. Like, that's probably what makes the song amazing. But there's 5 other songs that I would go out of my way to listen to before that one. I agree with that statement, Charlie. It is more an anthem for them than a practical song to actually play. And everyone knows it. Everyone knows the song, which is another reason. It's like I like stuff that most people either don't know, don't prefer, things like that. Kind of curious to see what Tyler's number 6 is and his reaction to me saying that it's a long way is number 6. See, Charlie, you and I agree. We're on the same page. Like, I love it, but I would definitely put 5 others in front of it. Like I said, my list ranking, I had probably different criteria than what probably you guys did. Like, I had a certain factors that made me list them the way I did. Um, but She's Got Balls. That's another good one I'll get to in about a couple songs. Um, Live, my number 5 is Can I Sit Next to You, Girl? I think it's a really good one. It's way better with Bond than it ever was with Dave Evans. Um, it's just one of them songs where I mean, there's not much about it that I can say other than it's not terrible. But I think I'd prefer to listen to that one over It's a Long Way to the Top, especially live. Like I said, a lot. My listing kind of went off of live as well, of what I also on top of the song itself. But not my number 5's Can I Sit. Like it's one of them songs. It's kind of in like middle of the list. It's not one that I'm gonna superly go after, but it's not one that I highly dislike. It's kind of just there. I think it's definitely a middle of the list song, and that's why it's there. And that's pretty much all I really have to say about it, really. Case, you already hated my list before I even started. As soon as you joined, you probably already hated my list. I'm guessing all of the top tracks are going to be on your top list, is what I'm assuming. But my number 4, Tyler, is She's Got Balls. I think that song is, the intro live is heavy. I love how both Bon and Brian both sang it. I think Brian did the song justice during 1986. And I really like She's Got Balls. It's a good one for me. It's my number 4. The reason that got me into She's Got Balls is pretty high is because of the Bondi Lifesaver version. I think it's on the Bonfire. That version is what got me into really liking that song a lot. The intro was really good. When I heard that song for the first time live, I'm like, this is one that's really going to be in one of my top on the album. Exactly. That's the reason why I love it. That's, exactly. That would be cool to see, Charlie. That would be cool if the whole thing. High voltage is at 3. Mine is high voltage is high for me too, but it's not my number 3. But my number 3 is Rock and Roll Singer. Rock and Roll Singer to me is one of them songs kind of like, it's very catchy. It's very, I like the more catchier tracks. I think that's why I like Anything Goes. To me, Rock and Roll Singer is similar to Anything Goes, like in a way of how the songs feel. Like to me, I really like it live because, like I said, I listened to it on the way home tonight, and I just Rock and Roll Singer is just one of them songs off the album that I would definitely seek out to listen to. Charlie, it's fine. Most people are going to have the Jack High. I'm sure most of you are going to have It's a Long Way to the Top at either 2 or 1, and I had it at 6. So, I understand. That, exactly. By this point, you guys should know kind of the songs that I like all have similar formats, I guess I should say. Like, the way they're like, the sound and how they're kind of, how they flow. Okay, so you'll wait. You just wait till I talk about Livewire. You think it's overrated? You just wait, because it's gonna be either one of the next two, and I'm gonna have a probably very controversial opinion on Livewire, but we'll get to that. I've Angus, I've never heard that Bond was not a fan of the Sex Pistols. Number 2 for me is High Voltage because of one being played live. Brian playing High Voltage is one of my favorites. Um, it's just really, when I listen to High Voltage a lot, like live versions mostly, because like I said, I prefer Brian singing High Voltage than Bond, and there's probably at least once a day I'll listen to High Voltage of some sort of, just like this morning or last night. Last evening on my way home, the Donington version of High Voltage came on. Um, there's a lot of Black Ice versions that come on that I like. The Rocker Bus and the Power Up Tour versions of High Voltage are amazing. 1988 is probably one of my favorite years for High Voltage. I just really like the song. So that's number 2 for me. Interesting. Well, based off of Tyler's list, I can only imagine which one his number 1 is, apparently. Because I haven't seen it yet, and it was one that I talked about earlier. So I'm kind of curious, Case, then what your number 1 would be. I never really listened to the Sex Pistols, to be honest, so I really can't tell you very much about them. What they sound like, if they're good, they're bad. I can't really put any opinion on it. No shit, Tyler. I figured that's what yours was, number 1. Um, my number 1, my favorite song of High Voltage is Livewire. I think that song kicks ass live every time. I love the intro of Livewire. I love the middle part, kind of after the solo, but before they get back into the choruses. I think that's an amazing part. And if I had to choose one song to play specifically, if I had to have one song off that album, it'd be Livewire. Yes, Brian kind of messed it up during '82, but I still love the fact that he at least attempted to sing it. I think 1979 Bond version is probably the best year for Livewire, in my opinion. I like that one. I like that year, Bond era year, the best. And, I do have an opinion that most of you are probably not going to like about Livewire, but I'm going to say it anyway. I think, as much as I hated the Axl Rose era part of the tour, um, I think Axl did Livewire really well, to be honest with you. And that's about the only song from his tenure that I will actually listen to on shuffle, like in rest with all my other shows. I don't have the whole show. I only have that song from him. But I have like 4 or 5 different dates that he sang Livewire, and I like the sound of the rocker bus sound on that song. Mostly, I have it because I wanted to listen to it with that era. Not so much for Axl. I mean, I'm not Angus. I'm not saying Axl was any good, because I didn't like him at all. Um, but since I don't have a lot of, since I only have one Brian show with Livewire, I had to find another way for me to listen rather than listen to the same old Bond Livewire tracks all the time. But I will say I liked how it sounded in 2016. I mean, I'm just gonna put it at that. I by no means do I think Axl should have stayed by any means, no. But I do like Axl's involvement in Livewire, and I do like it, and that's what got me actually to liking that song a lot more recently. But overall, Livewire is my number one off High Voltage off the album. I don't think it's ever gonna happen. Yeah, Angus played with Guns N' Roses here and there, just as like I think they played Riff Raff and a whole lot of Rosie, I think. A couple times Axl wanted him to be like a guest in the show. But like I said, I'm by no means supporting the whole Axl Rose part of that tour. I just liked his job on Livewire. Case, I think all of us prefer Can I Sit with Bond rather than Dave Evans. Charlie, exactly. Livewire in on the studio album is kind of flattish. I guess that's the best way. It doesn't have the powerful feel that it did live by any stretch. And that's another reason why I love Livewire live so much, is because it sounds heavy when it's played. Tyler, I think you are the only one who picked It's a Long Way as their number one, but Case and Charlie both had it at number two. A weird number one pick, like my number one or Tyler's number one, or oh, yours was Can I Sit? Is that what you chose, Case? Because I never saw you actually say that was your number one. Um, it's definitely surprised me. I'm not gonna say it's weird because everyone has their own number one. It's definitely not one I expected you to have at number one as often as you and I always joke with our opinions on what songs we like compared to others. But no, I mean that's your number one. It's not weird. It's just interesting. Exactly. Now, next Friday, if everyone is available, obviously after Christmas and such, we'll get into the Dirty Deeds album, which I have some kind of strong opinions about that album. We'll get to that next week. unless you want to go over unless you want to go over two albums in a stream. I mean, if you want to do that, I can kind of change some of the photos if you need me to, and we can talk about it. But I actually heard Live Wire for the first time when I was younger on the radio, and that's what kind of I'm like, kind of thinking to myself, what is that song and who is that? I kind of, when you're younger and you hear a song like that, it kind of stands out to you. And that's why I like it better, Charlie, live. Just overall, it's just so much better played live. Columbus. I feel like in '78, which we'll get to Power Age later, but we can quick discuss that the version. I don't know what it was in '78 during August and September that they seemed to want to play quick and very hard during Power Age, the tour. It was. But we'll get to that album later. But that tour was pretty great. But what was interesting to me though is that they played Kicked in the Teeth, Up to My Neck and You in '77, but they never brought them back into the Power Age tour, which was kind of, you know, why did they play it early, but then they never brought it back? It's true, Charlie, that he did start to develop his on-stage character. Case, I'll agree with you. I 100% think it was better with Brian, 100%. I think he did that song justice in 2001. I mean, honestly, I think he did a lot of Bond songs justice, but that's another topic. We can write that down too. We can talk about that some night, some Friday evening. And I'll get a list made up of which. I also think Brian did Problem Child pretty well the same year. 100% agree with you, Case. Charlie, in my opinion, yes. Oh, Case, don't even get me started on Rock and Roll Damnation or like Down Payment Blues or Gone Shootin' because I think Brian did all those three better, in my opinion. 100% agree. Definitely better. You won't be disappointed, Charlie. Case, so have I. I mean, I like them both because you have to like both. But 90% of what I listen to is always Brian material. Not like his not like his original material, but his live shows is what I listen to mostly because it just there's more energy there. I feel like, at least in my opinion. I could be crazy, but I just think Brian's shows had more energy and more harder sounding ish. Case, I don't think it would have been. I don't think it would have happened. I don't think it probably would have made it past 1990. Honestly, no. His drinking and things like I. That's why I said if Bond was still alive, I don't see them past 1990. Plus, I don't think, at least in the videos clips that I see between Bond and Brian, I think Brian is more of a what's the word? I think he has more hearts. I think the crowd loves Bryan a little bit more. I think Bryan's more of a showman on stage, is what I meant to say. I think he shows that he loves what he does a little bit more than what Bond did. Case, that's another good question. Do I think Bryan would have still been the guy that they chose in the '90s? It depends because let's say Bryan stays with Geordi. How long does Geordi go? And let's say Bryan's still in a very, let's just say Geordi was successful and, kept making albums and shows. I don't think Bryan would have been the guy. I don't know who it would have been, but I don't think it would have been Bryan. Only if Geordi maybe had some high success. So Case maybe Geordi too had high success. Then Bryan would have been involved in that, and you never know who would have taken the place. Let's say if Bond didn't die and he waited till late '80s, early '90s for something to happen, or if he left, or if they told him if he doesn't change his drinking, then he's out, type of thing. And he might have. I really can't, say one way or the other if he was or not. Um, Maybe he was. Maybe in his older years, he wanted to put some bottles down. Who knows? I can't decline or say yes to that. Same. That's my biggest reason on why I'm excited to go. True, I do prefer Matt over Chris Slade because I just listened to what was it today on the way to work. This Rock and Roll Train from what was it? I don't remember what date it was, but you just hear the cymbals crashing most of the time with Chris Slade anyway. Case, I think you got a point. And I feel like if they went back to old members, it wouldn't have sounded as good. Someone fresh to keep them fresh was a good choice. Right. Even though some people may not like it, is to keep things freshened up with new people compared to bring an old face in that probably doesn't have it anymore anyway. He is. Shaney's been doing an amazing job, like we've been saying. I'm kind of glad he didn't, to be honest. Now he did. I think he did a great job from between '83 and '88, but I think Matt filled the void really well. What's up, Charlie? Glad you're back. Case, you're just so hilarious. Your jokes are just so funny. Filled, huh? This guy thinks he's funny or something. We're talking about how Case said about he's glad they brought new members in to take over during the Power Up tour than old faces slash um, old members. And I said it's like a fresh start. It keeps everyone fresh when there's someone new rather than somebody older coming in to try to do something that they may not be able to do anymore. That they did, and let's see, it was after '82. They brought him back in '96, and I don't. And they brought him back for the album after Rocker Bust, but then he didn't play because of his issues. Plus, like you said, with the video of him playing, I don't think he, I don't think he could play anymore. Now, I agree with you. That's true. they're the first ones to get their age catches up to them a lot faster. And it could be a bad moment, but we would have to see him play more to really see if he would still be able to play or not. Yeah, you got a point. But at this point, why would they, let's say Phil gets his act together and was able to play in Australia or wherever. Do you really think they would take Matt out just to bring Phil back, just to say he's back? I mean, I don't think so. I think they would have to keep Matt. No, I don't think so either. But yeah, Log is, in case you're right, Log is 2.0. Is Phil Rudd number two? Yeah, because Stevie never really missed a beat. He did it well too. What else do you guys want to talk about tonight? No problem, Case. It's okay. If you gotta go, I'm only gonna be on for a little bit longer yet tonight, so I can catch up with you later. Yes, Charlie. Dirty Deeds will be next week, and I'll have the Australian and the international versions up, and we can rank the songs again next week as well. I already know what my number one is, and my number one has been the same for years on that album. And we'll also talk about how they incorporated, Jailbreak into the Australian one, along with, I want to say, Rock and Peace was on that album, but we'll talk about that next week. Um, yeah, and I'm gonna do that pretty much. We're just gonna cover all the albums every week until we cover them all. Case brought that idea up, so I like that idea. That's fine, Charlie. Thanks for joining tonight. I guess I'm gonna end the stream probably early tonight since you and Case have to go. But thanks for joining tonight, and I'll see you next Friday, and we'll discuss the Dirty Deeds album.